Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. No, really, stop it, stop it, stop it. Stop it, stop it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. My wife, she is South African, and she says every day, humble, eh? I don't know why. Yeah, we have to do some technology type of issues really quickly. So I'm going to log in so that my friends online can see my presentation.
There you go.
All right, friends online. All right. Did I lose it? I did. Talk among yourselves. You see nothing. Raise your hands. By the way, there's two ways to do anything. Number one, you can do it yourself. Or number two, you can get help and hire a professional. Raise your hands high if you are a do-it-yourselfer. Look around, look around, look around. Look at all these do-it-yourselfers. Thank you, do-it-yourselfers. Do-it-yourselfers, raise your hands again if looking back on it, there was a do-it-yourself project, looking back on it, you should have never done. Anybody here? Okay. All right, so I'd like to get a couple of examples. So please tell us in one sentence, what was the DIY project? And number two, what went BAD? Okay, so yes, sir. Changing the spark plugs in his car. Okay, seems rather straightforward. And what went BAD? You broke the spark plug? Inside the engine. Okay. That's BAD. All right. All right. Thank you. And I'm so sorry. Okay. Yes. What was your DIY project?
I installed a lock on the door.
She installed a lock on the door. Pretty straightforward. What happened?
I had to break the side.
You had to break the side of the door. You had to break the door.
Not the door.
She had to break the side of the door. Okay. Thank you. One more in the back, sir. What was your DIY project? For the listening audience at home, he did his own dental work. How many of you know this could, what could possibly go wrong with this, right? And what happened? He had to go to the dentist. I love asking this question. One time I currently live in Las Vegas, and I happened to be in Las Vegas, and this gentleman said he fixed his own brakes. And while traveling 75 miles an hour down Interstate 215, they fell off. They fell off. Now, thankfully, no one was injured. Another lady told me she was actually installing curtains. She knocked herself out with a hammer. In my family, by the way, I'm no different from anybody else. In my family, it's called the sprinkler system situationship. By the way, that's a word. Situationship. That's the word of the day. Please tell your neighbors. Anyway, years ago, I used to live in Denver, Colorado. And in Denver, Colorado, I had an underground sprinkler system, just like they have in golf courses. In Colorado, because of winter, you have to blow out all the water in the sprinkler systems. Otherwise, the water will freeze and the pipes will burst. Anyway, my sprinkler guy was a guy by the name of Rob. One spring, I turn on my sprinkler systems, and it's clear I have burst pipes. I call up Rob. I said, Rob, how much is it going to cost? And he says, it's going to cost $500. And my inner DIYer kicked in. And I said, $500? I can do this myself. Now, this is back in the days when there was like no social media. There was no Google, there was no YouTube, there was no TikTok. However, there still was something online. You know, like, by the way, the younger people are not going to know what the heck I'm talking about, but we had a search engine called Ask Jeeves. Alta Vista, anybody here? Okay, okay. The young people are going, what are they talking about? They're speaking a different language. Anyway, I went online, I found a video from a guy in Georgia. And he said, hey, if your sprinkler system ever goes, you can get this kit for $25 and you could do it yourself. I said, done. Anyway, I told my soon-to-be ex-wife, Kathy, about my scheme. And she said to me, she says, Ed, pay Rob his money. You are not that tooly. That's another word of the day, TLI. I have no idea. Anyway, I said, honey, I got that. DIYers, how many of you said that to your significant others? I've got this. Anyway, she said, pay the guy his money. Anyway, and by the way, this is the reason I felt that I was qualified to do this. You know, number one, I'm a DIYer. Number two, I'm a world champion of public speaking. Which has nothing to do with this, but that's beside the point. It would ruin the story if I was reasonable. And I was a card-carrying member of Home Depot. Anyway, he said there was a kit that you could buy at Home Depot for $25. I was shrewd. I went to Home Depot and I got it for $10. Told my wife, we can save $290. She said, pay the man his money. I said, honey, I've got this. I'll never forget the day. It was a beautiful day. It was a beautiful sunny day. I had my wheelbarrow, I had my tools, and I took out my shovel, and I knew right away I was in trouble. Have you ever had that feeling? When you were fixing the lock, did you have that feeling? Immediately, you knew you were in over your head. And here's the reason I felt I was in over my head. You see, on the video, the guy was in Georgia, and they had something called soil. They had something called dirt. In Colorado, we had something called clay. Have you ever tried to dig wet clay? You might as well be digging cement. It was hours and hours of back-breaking work. Finally, I get to the place where I need to fix it. I take out my $10 part. I attach it. Now, in the meantime, every hour on the hour, my soon-to-be ex-wife, Kathy, is at the living room window, and she's looking at me. And every time we make eye contact, she would look at me, and she would just go, I got this. Anyway, so finally, I get it working, and it looks like this. And I knock on the living room window and says, Kathy, hey, check this out. I told you I got this. And just as she showed up at the window, at the scene of the crime, the scene of the repair, the pipes started shaking. They started rattling. And all of a sudden, it blew up. It blew up. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm not going to make eye contact with Kathy. I immediately turn off the water. I hop on my cell phone. By the way, I had a Motorola flip phone. Anybody here know what I'm talking about here? I flipped it over. It's like an episode from Star Trek, and I wanted Scotty to beam me up out of there. I really. Anyway, I call up Rob. He must have sensed my desperation on the phone. Let me ask you this. How much does it cost now to repair my sprinkler system? Anybody? $1,000, okay. $1,800. Plus the other $500 for ruining my other neighbor's lawn. By the way, Rob was he was shrewder than I as a business person. He said, Ed, no credit cards, no cash, no credit cards, no check, cash only. By the way, we had no Venmo, there was no PayPal then. And so I have to go off to the bank and get this money. In the meantime, one of my neighbors is walking a dog. We had a neighborhood watch program. And the motto was, if you see something, say something. Well, she saw what looked like a grave or a bomb crater. She called the police. By the way, how many of you know that real life is better than fiction? You can't make this up. I get back. There are about 15 or 20 of my neighbors around my lack of tooliness. My next door neighbor, George Reynolds, runs up to me. He says, Ed, are you guys okay? The neighbors were talking about the terrorist attack. Are you guys okay? And I said, no, George. I was just trying to fix my sprinkler system. Anyway, everyone thought it was funny, except for the police, the firefighters, and the paramedics who were also there as well. Oh, man. By the way, yes, it gets worse. Anyway, in the meantime, Rob, the sprinkler system guy, he comes over. I give him all of this money, this $2,000 plus. He takes out this piece of equipment. It looks like a chainsaw on wheels. And he goes zip, zip, and he's done it in about 20 minutes. I don't know about you, but if I pay $2,300, I want to see Beyonce and Taylor Swift at the same time. And that wasn't the worst part. A couple of days later, we get a knock on the door. It is Homeland Security. They said, we understand that there was a terrorist attack here. I said, no, sir. No. I was just trying to fix my sprinkler system. He goes away. He comes back 2 days later. He says, sir, we have more questions for you. So here's what I think happened. This Homeland Security guy told his boss that it was a sprinkler system. He said, well, that can't be it. Go back out and find out what really happened. So they interviewed us for another 20 to 30 minutes. Wait, it gets worse. From there, every year in my neighborhood, whenever there was a barbecue, there was a party, a celebration, someone would always have a beverage in their hand and they would say, hey, do you remember that time Ed tried to fix the sprinkler system? So there are two ways to do anything. You can do it yourself, or you can get help. So let's look at some of the lessons learned in this case. Number one, listen to your spouse. Anybody here? Number two, your DIY could go WRONG. Anybody here? And sometimes get help. Get help from people who can save you time, energy, and embarrassment. So please talk among yourselves. Get together in groups of 2 or 3. What were some of the elements of this story that made it memorable for you? Begin. Are you my chat master? Are you the chat master today? Huh? Okay. All right. So when I come to you, if anyone types anything, okay, great. Okay, perfect. Pretty cool, huh? Internet, $10. So what were some elements of that story that made it memorable for you? Anybody? Yes? There was drama to it. Thank you. What else? There was humor. Thank you. At my expense. Yes? Unexpected twists and turns. By the way, write some of these down. Yes? There was engagement. Elaborate a little bit more. How was their engagement? It drew everyone in. All right, thank you. Yes? My story's amazing. Thank you. I'm going to take you on tour with me. So thank you. Yes? By the way, write that down. When you ask the audience questions, guess what? They're a part of the show. They're a part of the show. Yes? Very elaborate. Thank you. Online?
So online, making it relatable to experiences, self-deprecating humor.
Self-deprecating humor, making it relatable.
Way of delivery.
The way of delivery.
Leave the job to experts and do not attempt to do it all yourself, just the humor and storytelling.
Leave the job to experts. Yes, sir. It did keep getting worse. By the way, here's the other part of the story I left out. Eventually, my wife, my first wife and I, we did get divorced. It came up in the divorce proceedings. So somewhere in an official record, my lack of tooliness is documented forever someplace in cyberspace. So I hand here, yes.
It was very visual.
Very visual. Could you see yourself there?
No, I could see you doing it.
She said she could see me do that.
And repeating the sentence, I got it.
Honey, I got this. Having like a little bit repetition. You know, yes. That's part of the art. And I got that here. I got this from Toastmasters. One thing I've been really experimenting with this year is specifically tone. Changing my tone. And what I've noticed is by changing my tone, it makes people lean in more and it makes people pay attention more. So that's just something, a nuance that I've been experimenting with this year. All right, let me, quick pop quiz. Number one, did this story make you think? Yes? Could you relate to it? Yes? Did it make you laugh? Thank you. The four of you, I appreciate that. And were there some lessons learned? Don't do it. Thank you. All right, so everyone repeat after me. Please stand, please stand. And for those of you who play in the home game, if you feel like it, we would love for you to turn on your screen so we can see you. I'm working hard. I would love to see you. And if you do decide to participate, make sure you adjust your camera so that we're not looking at your belt line. Okay, all right. So everyone, I want you to repeat the words that you see on the screen, not those, not to repeat after Ed. I want everyone to say, Ed. Ed. So Ed. What? So what? Who cares? Who cares? What's in it for me? What's in it for me? It's all about me. It's all about me. Please turn to one of your neighbors and say, neighbor. Neighbor. So what? So what? Who cares? Who cares? What's in it for me? What's in it for me? It's all about me. It's all about me. You may be seated. Thank you for those of you playing the home game. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Rob. Rob was really into it. This is what people are thinking every time you make a presentation. So what? Who cares? What's in it for me? It's all about me. Now, no one's going to say this out loud. No one's going to say this to your face. But this is what they're thinking. And every time you make a presentation, you have to answer these questions. What is the so what? Why should they care? What's in it for me? And make it all about them. Are you with me? So let's talk about what's in it for you. I'm going to share with you my storytelling secrets. I'm also going to, you're going to create the first draft of a brand new story that you've never told before. And we're going to have some fun. So what do you think of the agenda? Yes? Yes. Okay, thank you. All right, let's move on. Yes. I love this quote. It is from Seth Godin. He's the author of a book called Purple Cow. He says, you're either remarkable or invisible. And here's the secret to be invisible. Be like everybody else. Do what everyone else is doing. That is a secret on how you can be invisible. In fact, what I want you to do is I want you to be either beige or gray. And that's a secret how to become invisible. But if you want to be remarkable, here's the clue. There's never been a person like you on earth, and there never will be. And that's the good news. And I'm inviting you just to be you. Show up as who you are. Bring you to your presentation. Bring your personality. Bring your thoughts. Bring your ideas. I'm a former executive in the computer industry. I've had over 2,000 people work for me. And I learned what I call the great aha. And the great aha was this. I started getting promotions once I started sharing my ideas, my thoughts. I started taking risks. I started falling on my face. But once I shared my ideas, my thoughts, as opposed to repeating what someone else has said, that's when I started making more income, not only in my job as an executive, but also in my professional speaking career. So you're either remarkable or invisible. So here's some of my speaking secrets. Question, did we duplicate my handout? That would be a no. Okay. My handout is not necessary. My handout is necessary. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put everything on the screen, and then you'll be able to follow along. You'll be able to play the game. Okay, ready? All right, let's keep moving on from here. All right. So I love this quote from Patricia Fripp. Patricia Fripp, she is in the Speaking Hall of Fame. She's the first female president of the National Speakers Association. And she says the following. There are two ways to connect with people, intellectually and emotionally. You don't have to connect with them emotionally unless you want them to remember what you said. By the way, here's something else, another falsehood in business. There's this belief or this phrase I've heard, like, business is professional, it's intellectual, etc. Business is emotional. Business is emotional. So, I mean, I'm not talking about making people cry and things of that nature, but business is emotional. So, drop that idea that it's not emotional. So here's secret number one, and if you had my handout, you would be filling in the blank. Connect emotionally with people first. I'm inviting you to connect first before you share your content. I'm not suggesting that content is not important, but if you don't connect with that audience, they're going to miss your brilliant content. So your first challenge as a speaker, as a presenter, is to connect emotionally with audiences first. Have I done that so far with you? Yes or no? Love this quote from Plato. Those who tell stories rule society. Alex Mandeljian, storytelling is the new selling. Storytelling is the new selling. I have a program later on this afternoon. It's called Pitch to Win. We'll elaborate more specifically on how to do that. I love this quote from The Power of Focus by Jack Canfield and Mark Victor Hansen, who are the authors of Chicken Soup for the Soul series, one of the best-selling book series of all time. An essential business habit is to become a better storyteller because what sticks to a person's mind is a story. Everyone, put up your hands like this and repeat after me. Stories are sticky. Please turn to your neighbors and say, stories are sticky. Okay, people in back of you, stories are sticky. Stories are what? Sticky. So lesson number two, secret number two is stories are sticky. Secret number three, this is called the story-sticky ratio. This is the point when your message becomes memorable. In my opinion, one of the greatest books on public speaking is called Made to Stick by Chip and Dan Heath. It is not a public speaking book, but it has so many ideas and tips and techniques and strategies which are applicable to public speaking. And they have something, again, called the story-sticky ratio. They said, when you give 3 examples or illustrations about your idea or concept, that's the point when it becomes memorable. Now, in their statistics and their data, it said 2.7. I rounded it up to 3, okay? But if you can give 3 examples, illustrations around that central point that you're trying to give, that's the point in which your ideas and your messages become sticky. Lesson number 4, secret number 4 is ditch the data dump. Have you ever gone to a presentation where they were dumping data on you? Have you ever gone to one of those? Yes. Have you ever given one of those? Okay. Too much data. By the way, here's something about data and numbers. They are abstractions. Numbers by themselves are not memorable. They're not memorable, especially if there's no context to them. So here's the secret in terms of making your numbers and your data memorable. Wrap your data in a story. According to PhD author Jerome Berner from Harvard, a fact wrapped in a story is 22 times more memorable than facts by themselves. By the way, you don't have to believe me. Test it yourself. The next time you have a presentation that is filled with data, numbers, and statistics, give people a pop quiz. And I'm willing to bet they don't even remember 10% if you just give them data, numbers, and statistics. I know this to be true. Okay. Another survey said 63% of people remember a story, 5% only remember statistics, numbers, or data. Wrap your data, wrap your numbers in a story. But Ed, I have no stories. You know what data is? Data is nothing but stories. So what I want you to do is I want you to look at all your data points, pick out the one that is most relevant and most germane, and tell that story. Data turns people into numbers. Your job is to turn those numbers back into people. Oops. Okay. Yeah. He was taking. So. Okay. All right. I do look good in that photo, don't I? No, I'm just kidding. Humble, eh? All right. So I'm about to share with you my secret sauce in terms of how I tell stories. So in a moment, I'm going to ask you to stand. Okay, and by the way, you don't have to stand if you choose not to. if physically, if there's some situations, or you just don't want to, you don't have to stand. Online, same thing, but we'd love to see your faces. All right, so please stand if you choose. I'm gonna teach you my secret recipe. All right, so everyone follow along with me. Are you ready? Okay, so this is your, okay, very good. All right, some of you are like a little bit slow, so we're gonna try it again. All right, take it from top. This is your, and it makes you think. Okay, very good. Let's take this from the top. This is your, and it makes you think. Okay, this is your, and it connects. What does it do? It connects. Okay, please don't hit your neighbors, all right? Virtual people, keep it in a box. Keep it in a box, okay? All right, let's take this from the top. This is your, makes you. This is your, and it, give me a belly laugh. Okay, so this is your stomach, and it makes you laugh. Okay, let's take this from the top. This is your, makes you. This is your, and it. This is your, makes you. Okay, repeat after me. Heavy hitting. Everyone go, heavy hitting. Clap your hands like this and go, heavy hitting. All right? All right, so let's put this all together. This is your, makes you. This is your, and it. This is your, makes you. And this is heavy hitting. And that is the point. What is it? It's the point. So please give your neighbor a high five and say, I've got it. You may be seated. Thank you, Rob. Let's give some for Rob. He's got a big smile on his face. All the other online people are jealous because I'm giving him all the love. Yeah. Say it again.
The audience is asking.
You can share. You've got it. Okay, perfect. All right. And it's not necessary because we're gonna get through this. All right. So something just happened. Okay, there we go. So head, does your presentation make people think? Heart, can people relate? Can people relate to your presentation or your speech? Humor, does your presentation make people laugh? And heavy hitting, what is the lesson, the message, or the walk away? What is the lesson, the message, or the walk away? All right, with heavy hitting, write this down. What is your KFD? What is your KFD? What do you want people to know, feel, or do once you're done? By the way, that's the starting point of all presentations. Your KFD. What do I want people to know, feel, or do once I'm done? Basically, this is your call to action. Okay, so we've answered those. Quick poll. Of these four, are there any which are not necessary? And if so, which one? Anybody? So, are they all necessary? Or some not necessary? Yes, yes. Humor. And why do you say humor? Okay, so and help me with your name. So Wendy said, humor is not necessary because the others are essential. You have to get people to think, you have to connect emotionally, and you have to have a walk away or a message. And I'm going to agree with her. And I got a gift one year. It's the 100 greatest speeches in American history. 100 greatest speeches in American history. You have Ronald Reagan, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down that wall. Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream. John F. Kennedy, going to the moon. You name it. The greatest speeches in our country's history. Not one sentence of humor. And the reason that humor is not essential is because not everyone is as funny as Ed. Humble, eh? All right. So now it is your turn to create your own story. Now it's your turn to create your own story. And I want to prove to you that this process works. There's a couple things. Number one, I've given this process around the world. I've given this process in countries where English is the third and fourth language spoken, and it still worked. Okay? This is my number one program I get for corporations and associations around the world. I typically charge them, tens of thousands of dollars. Not today. I love this quote from Patricia Fripp. She says, "You never begin with a masterpiece. You're messy before you're organized." What I want you to do is I want you to detach from perfectionism. I want you to detach. I'm a former artist. I won 2 scholarships to the Art Institute in Chicago, once when I was 9, the other when I was 13 years old. And what she says is true, is that you are a mess, or I love this aphorism that the 1999 world champion of public speaking, Craig Valentine, says, you are a mess before you have the message. You are a mess, that's not mine, that's his, but you're a mess before you have your message. So I'm inviting you to, it's okay to be messy. It's okay to not be perfect. I'm inviting you to just go with the first instincts or the first ideas that come in your head, all right? So let's move on from here. So step number 1, and the goal here is I want you to create a short story, think table topics length, story, with a lesson. And you're gonna work individually initially. And I want you to think about something that's taken place in your life over the past 4 weeks. I want to prove to you that this process works. Something that's happened to you relatively simple. I mean, recently, I should say. Something that's happened to you recently in your life. Couple tips. The story does not have to be extraordinary. In fact, if it's ordinary, the better. If it's everyday, ordinary, those typically make the best stories. Why would I say that? They're relatable. Absolutely, they're relatable. Our jobs as speakers is to take the ordinary and find the extraordinary. The current world champion, Jocelyn, is that her name? Okay. I don't know if you've got a chance to actually watch her speech. I'm inviting you to check out the entire competition. It was remarkable. You know, 3 ladies. The ladies swept, by the way. Congratulations, ladies. All right. But Johnson's story is she had a bucket list item, and that is to participate in a triathlon. I always want to say just 5K. Triathlon. There was a problem. And the problem was this. Number 1, she didn't swim, didn't like to run or bike. And ordinary idea, but she made it extraordinary by pointing out the nuances. Here's another subtlety about storytelling. If the audience can see themselves in your story, those are the most relatable stories. That's why I say go for the ordinary, not necessarily the extraordinary. So again, here's a couple choices. Number 1, it could be something that took place with your family, work, holidays, vacation, dating, or it could be some firsts. It could be, you know, back in the day, your first date, your first job, your first car, your first speech. You decide what that is, what the event is. Must be, I'm inviting you to have a new story that you've never told before. Now, raise your hands if you're a seasoned Toastmaster. Let me just see you, let me see you. Okay, all you seasoned Toastmasters, you have what I call your back pocket speeches. Don't use those. You know what I'm talking about, okay? Don't use those. All right, let me give you another example. I call the stories Maria's advice. So back in 1999 or 1998, I was an aspiring speaker. I went to Las Vegas. I attended this workshop. It was called The Odd Couple. It was put on by Patricia Fripp, Hall of Fame speaker, and also Hall of Fame speaker Alan Weiss. During one of the breaks, I went to the table, and there was a woman behind the table for Alan Weiss's products, and her name was Maria. And on the table, I saw this book. It says, a proposal that's accepted every time. I said to myself, I've got to get the copy of this book. I asked Maria, how much does the book cost? And she said, it was $197. I said, are you sure? I said, $197 for a book? I don't know about you, but I pledged once I graduated from university, I would never pay that much for a book ever again. Anybody here know what I'm talking about? And I'll never forget what Maria said next. She said, Ed, you're not paying $197 for a book. You're paying for answers that you don't have. She said, buy the book. Test it out. If it doesn't work, send it back. I'll give you back your money. Deal. My first proposal. I made $28,385. Let me ask you a question. If you knew in advance you would make $28,385, would you buy that book?
Yes.
How many copies would you buy? By the way, this book is no longer in print, and I have like one of the few remaining copies, and I would be willing to part with it for only $25,000. I'm giving you a discount. By the way, so, there's another version of this book which is available online. It only costs 25 bucks. But anyway, head, did that story make you think? Heart, could you relate? Humor, did it make you laugh? Heavy hitting, was there a message, a lesson, or a point? You see what we're trying to do here? All right, so now it's your turn. All right, so here's what we're going to do. By the way, I love this quote from Warren Buffett. He says, the rich invest in time, the poor invest in money. What he's trying to say is, people who are successful invest in things that will save them time. All right, let's move on from here. So this is what we call maker time. So in a moment, I'm going to give you some time to answer some questions about this, but creating your story. So number one is, what's your event? So in this case, I'm going to call, the last story, I'm going to call this Maria's story. That's the event, Maria's story. So if I was doing this, so put a label on your event. Again, the thing that's taken place in your life over the past 4 weeks, just write something down. Just go with it. Don't overthink it, just write something down. Commit to it. I want you to focus on the process, not your specific answers. The process is far more important than what you put down right now. So I want you to learn the process. Don't get caught up in specifics, specific answers. Everyone's got something? Okay. Next. Here's secret number 6. This is from a friend of mine. Her name is Kate Lutz, and she's a Toastmaster. She said, the problem with most storytellers, they spend way too much time talking about the place or the people. What she says is that you need to really dispense with the place and the people immediately and talk about the action and the resolution. Let's go back to Maria's story. Las Vegas, a specific event. The vast majority of that story was, I'm talking to Maria. We're having a conversation back and forth. I got rid of the place, Las Vegas, the odd couple, and the people, Ed and Maria. And I spent most of the time talking about the action and the resolution. Are you with me? That's how you should construct your stories, especially if you're giving 5 to 7 minute speeches. You're not writing novels. I've heard some people give speeches like they were writing a book. A book is for the eye, a speech is for the ear. Are you with me? Okay, so dispense with those anything that's unnecessary. Think of it this way. Poetry is a craft, it's an art where all the unnecessary words are removed. I would like you to apply that towards your storytelling. Remove all the unnecessary words. Also remove all the unnecessary characters. Let's say, for example, your story is about there's 5 people in the car, but the story's only between 2. Treat it like Hollywood would. Hollywood wouldn't even show the other 3 people. Because if you say, hey, there was 5 people in the car, but I was talking to me and my sister, you've done something called an open loop. An open loop is an unanswered question. Well, what about the other 3 people? You've introduced that open loop. Are you with me? So I want you to edit like Hollywood. They would never even show the other 3 people in the car. They would only focus on the 2. Are you with me? All right, so let's move on from here. I love this. This is Michael Haig, a good friend of ours. And he's the primary goal of a story is to elicit emotion. I would also say one of the key components of a story is to solve a conflict. There is no story without emotion, but there's also no story without a conflict. And a conflict is basically someone wants something and there's an obstacle in their way. That's basically the simplest definition of a conflict I can think of. So let's go back to Jocelyn, world champion. She wanted to run this triathlon. What's the obstacle? Can't swim, doesn't like to ride a bike or run. That's the conflict. And by the way, we find humor in the conflict. Are you with me? By the way, for those of you who are always searching for humor, find the conflict. And look at that conflict in extraordinary ways. I'm trying to fix my sprinkler system. How many times did you laugh about my circumstances? This should have been something very, very simple to do. Or I'm going to quote her, don't do it. All right, So now it is your turn. I want you to answer these 4 questions with regard to your event. Number 1, what's potentially thought-provoking? What's thought-provoking? What would make people think about your event? Write down simple words, a sentence or 2. Just a sentence or 2. You've already lived this experience. There is no need for you to write down a bunch of details on a piece of paper. You've already lived this experience. So just write down a few words that remind you, trigger words that remind you about that event. What's thought-provoking about this event? So in this case, there's a book that sells for $197. Who's going to pay $197 for a book? Heart, how can others relate or connect to this story? I'm a struggling speaker. How dare this person charge this amount of money for this? So can people relate to it? Or the line I used was, when I graduated from university, I swore I would never pay that much for a book again. I got a lot of you smiling and laughing and raising your hands. That's an example of relatability. Humor, what's potentially funny? Now, when you're in the creation process, and this is Ed's approach, is sometimes I don't see the funny right away. So you know what I do is I skip this part. And I'll come back to this later on when the story's maybe a little bit more developed. So if you don't see the funny right away, skip this part right now. Number 4, I want you to spend the most time here in number 2 and number 4. What's the walkaway? What's the message or the lesson? What's your KFD? What's the walkaway, the message, or the lesson? I'm going to give you 2 minutes to answer these questions. And again, this is an experience you've already lived. You don't have to write paragraphs, only sentences or trigger words for each one of these questions. Begin. Good point. Let's take one more minute. Again, you've already lived this experience. Just write down a few trigger words answering the questions. All the answers are already in your head. All right, in a moment, I'm going to have you form groups of 3 or triads. Sometimes some of you will have to move in order to, it'll be temporary. You can go back to your seat a little bit later on, and I'm going to leave it up to you to form groups of 3. Sometimes the math doesn't work, and you'll have a group of 4, but no bigger than that. Preferably a group of 3. That's the best configuration. And what you're going to do is each one of you is going to take turns sharing, what's your event, and the answers to the 4 questions. Repeat it after me. No backstory. Okay? In fact, no story at all. Okay? Only thing you're going to do is answer the 4 questions. I'm going to post the 4 questions up here. And that is, what's your event? What's thought-provoking? what connects, what's funny, and again, this could be skipped, and what's the message or the lesson. And you're going to go through it very, very quickly. Each person's going to only have a minute to go through it. All right? I've done this thousands of times before. Okay? So I'd like you to just go through it quickly. It's not necessary to tell any backstory. Here's my event. Here's my answer to question number 1. Here's my answer to question number 2. Number 3, I couldn't find the funny, and here's my answer to number 4. Okay? And each person's going to have a minute. So please stand, please stand. And self-select your teams. All right, so get into groups of 3. Okay, and then I will, once you've gotten to groups of 3, then I'll start the timing. Raise your hands if you need to be a part of a team. All right. Start talking among yourselves. Begin. Decide who's going to go first. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. So speaker number 1's already done. Speaker number 2 can begin. Okay, next speaker, speaker number 2. Speaker number 3, it's your turn. Go. All right. You may be, clap your hands once if you can hear my voice. Clap your hands 2 times if you can hear my voice. Clap your hands 3 times if you can hear my voice. All right, everyone please stand, please stand. Please face your teammates, Right hand in the air, Index finger pointed towards the ceiling. On the count of 3, I want you to point to the person in your triad, your group of 3, who had the most interesting message or lesson. 3. All right, you may be seated. He or she who had the most points, they are the speaker. They are the speaker. The other 2 individuals are the coaches. The other 2 people are the coaches. Coaches, here are your directions. Here are your instructions. Okay? So we're going to pick one story to develop, and the other coaches, I'm going to give you 2 minutes to make that story remarkable. Remember, we have an ordinary story, and now the coaches, you're going to coach that person to make it remarkable. All right, got it? Now, begin. 2 minutes, go.
But I like the penny whatever that.
1 minute, 1 minute. Tip. Clap your hands once if you can hear my voice. Clap your hands 2 times if you can hear my voice. Clap your hands 3 times if you can hear my voice. Secret number 7. Add dialogue. Add dialogue. Here's something else I noticed that Toastmasters do. You tell the story in the narrative. Telling the story in the narrative, in many instances, is boring, if you will. I'm not suggesting that you should not tell a story using narration. You have to use your best judgment under all circumstances. However, what adds spice to your presentations is for us to actually hear the characters. I'm not talking about dissertations, but maybe a line or 2. For example, in my Maria story, Ed, you're not paying $197 for a book. You're paying for answers that you don't have. I didn't give that in the narrative. I gave that in dialogue coming from Maria. Make sense? Okay, so go back another 2 minutes, and what I want you to do is where it's appropriate. Where it's appropriate, and by the way, less is more. Less is more. Add where you feel a character should either have what we call external dialogue or internal dialogue. External dialogue is actual conversations. Internal dialogue is what one of the characters was thinking. 2 minutes, talk among yourselves, go. One minute. Take that back. 1 minute.
We could have it begin speaking or we could have that hiring speaking. Yes, I love dialogue because that's something that lives in life for me, and because we can get into everyday life.
Yeah, it's not working very well. All right, let's talk about it. Coaches, not the speakers. Speakers, you don't have a vote on this. Coaches do, coaches. So coaches, please raise your hand if you have a speaker who has a story that has a powerful walk-away message. So a hand went up in the back. So who is that speaker? Okay. All right. And what's the walk-away message? Only the walk-away message. What's the walk-away message? It's okay when things change, even though you don't want them to change. Okay, thank you. Who else? Other coaches. Henry.
Look on the bright side.
Look on the bright side. Thank you. Who else? Yes.
Unexpectedly get something that's really going to help you.
You unexpectedly get something that's going to help you. I'm kind of curious. Okay, yes. Plan better and adapt. Thank you. Yes. Looking for the solutions, don't look for?
Disappointment.
Don't look for solutions, don't look for disappointment. Interesting. Okay, yes.
If you drive fast enough, you can make it. Or don't procrastinate.
If you drive fast, so repeat it again.
If you drive fast enough, you can make it.
If you drive fast enough, you can make it. I think we have a winner. Okay. Okay. Yes. It's never too late to start. Thank you. Yes. Humor does not have to be intelligent. I think we have a second winner. Yes. Prepare before it's too late. Yes. Fake it until you make it. Thank you. Yes. Make a connection quickly. Thank you. Yes. Elaine.
You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Okay? All right. Yes.
When the door is closed, the window must be open.
When a door is closed, a window must be open for you. There is a book. Oh man, I can't think of the name of the book off the top of my head. There's always The Third Door. Has anyone read this book? Oh, it is a great, great book. It's called The Third Door. There's 3 ways to get into a nightclub. Okay, or any place in life. It's a metaphor. Number 1, you can be part of the VIP, and you're easily escorted through the front door. Or you can wait outside with the common people, or you can find the third door. The third door is in the back of the club. It's a kitchen door, or there's a window that's open, and you get in. But the point is this. In life, there's always a third door. There's always a third door. Okay. What about on? Oh, my chat master left me. Okay. Anybody else? Anybody else? Yes. Spin. I think we have a third winner. We have a third winner. One more. One more. So repeat it again. We have to connect to people.
Yes, be a leader.
To be a leader.
Just working.
Just working is not going to cut it. Okay? All right, thank you. So the people I announced as the three winners, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to share something else with you in just a moment, and then I'd like you to come up here and get version 1.0 of your story that you just created. You should see the stunned look on their faces. All right, here we go. All right, everyone please stand, please stand. Please give your teammates a group hug. A group hug. All right. You may be seated. Please update what I call your keepers. A keeper is nothing more than an idea that you like. An idea that you like. So what have you liked about this session? And by the way, the source doesn't matter. Did you get the idea? Did you get your keeper from me? Did you get it from one of your neighbors? Or was it your own eureka moment? The source doesn't matter. The most important thing is capturing the keeper. So please update your list of keepers. What are some ideas you've got out of this session? Please take a minute. Please share your keeper with a neighbor. Yeah, please share your neighbor, share a keeper with a neighbor. Go. Just one. All right, let's hear from some people we have not heard from. Let's hear from some people we have not heard from. What are some of your keepers? Yes, sir. He's interested in their message. You can make it if you drive fast, okay? What else? Other keepers? Ideas? Concepts? Anybody? Yes. Yeah, you don't have to spend a lot of time with the people in the place. Get the characters out of the way. By the way, we're making artistic choices. Number one, use your best judgment under all circumstances. I'm giving you broad generalizations, not understanding your specific stories. Sometimes you may have to make an artistic choice where you do want to fill in the backstory. You do want to do that. So again, the number one rule is use your best judgment under all circumstances. But generally speaking, let's get the characters out of the way. Let's get the location out of the way. Let's get into the meat of the story. Okay? Anybody else? Yes.
Any story, find the head.
Yes.
You can develop this story. So make the people there, the place there, story will.
Yes. So she said that basically what you're saying is you can see stories now everywhere. And by the way, that's going to happen to all of you. From this day forward, you're going to see stories everywhere and everywhere. Okay? A couple more. Keepers. Yes, sir. Internal dialogue, what the character was thinking. Okay. Yes, Elaine.
Just the relatability of the simple incident was a frustration, I think, reflected back on me, and I see how I have the same story to tell, or a similar story to tell.
So Elaine talks about the relatability of a story. I can't think of the woman's name who wrote this book on storytelling, but she uses the metaphor of train tracks. A storyteller is telling a story. You're listening. So this is a storyteller's story. You're listening. However, you're saying to yourself, that I can relate to that. So now the train, we are actually running parallel. We're actually listening to the storyteller's story, but we're also reliving a similar experience. And then when the speaker says something that, hey, I get that. You have that aha moment. Guess what? That's when the train tracks meet, and that's when you have a connection. Are you with me? All right. So here's where we're going to keep on going. Okay. Yes. Last person. Yes, sir. You're our first or last. Yes. If you're looking for humor, look at the conflict. Look at the conflict. All right. So can I ask you a question? Have I earned the right to make you an offer? Have I earned the right to do that? Yes. Okay, thank you. All right. So I'm just asking for permission here. I'm a full-time professional speaker. I do this for a living. I give back to Toastmasters because Toastmasters gave me a career. They gave me the life that I absolutely love and adore. I met my wife in South Africa at a Toastmasters conference. So I'm going to blame you for my second divorce. No. Kidding. Okay. All right. So I'm offering what I call a master class. And a master class is an hour of coaching with me. Now, how I used to do this is I used to give people a solid hour. And here's what I discovered. When I gave people a solid hour, I never found out what they did with the hour. So this time what I've done is I've designed it in 2 different sessions. Number one, there's an initial session, and you could talk to me about whatever you want to. Storytelling is one of my superpowers. How to run a side hustle or a solo business, that's another one of my superpowers. Another one of my superpowers is changing mindsets. And I'll give you an illustration in a moment. These are some of my strengths. But anyway, each one of our sessions will be recorded, they'll be transcribed, and you have 18 months to schedule it. You have 18 months to schedule it. So there's no hurry with regard to doing that, okay? I normally charge my corporate clients $500 an hour. You will not only will you not pay $500, but I'm not going to charge you $500, all right? Here are some of my raving fans, okay? And again, like I said, one of my superpowers is changing mindsets. This is Janice Velhauer. She's a PhD. She's a former professor at Emory University. I coached her on her TED Talk today, which has over 1 million views. Actually, it's closer to like 1.5 million views recently. After her TED Talk, she got a book deal, plus she got a consulting gig with a company in Silicon Valley. So she's doing quite well. This is Sean Rhodes. Sean Rhodes served in Iraq and Afghanistan. And I met him like within 30 days of him returning to the United States. He said he wanted to be a speaker, and working with him, we were able to he got a $30,000 deal like right off the bat. And the one thing I will say about Sean, again, because of his military training, outstanding at execution. I mean, you and I were talking about that last night at dinner, about the execution factor, okay? This is Darren Tate. Darren Tate is a 2016 world champion of public speaking. And I've helped about 4 or 5 other people win the world championship of public speaking. But I'm going to mention Darren in particular because we created his championship speech the night before the contest. The night before the contest. By the way, I will never, ever do that again, ever in life. The pressure was incredible. Now, in my opinion, he's the world champion because he was willing to, A, let go of a speech that was not working and start all over again. And give that speech. And by the way, the first time he actually got that speech correct was when he was in front of 2,500 people on the main stage, and that's the first time he did it correctly. We have been practicing and rehearsing. I mean, literally up to like a half an hour before the contest, he was still getting the speech wrong. Thank you. And on the main stage is when he got it right. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that a little bit later. I'll tell you more about that in my second session, okay? Anyway, so here's my offer for you. So like, you can take a picture if you like. And I also have order forms they're going to be at my table as well. But again, you get 2 sessions with me. The first session is for 40 minutes. The second session is for 10 minutes. I mean, for 20 minutes. I have never held people to 40 minutes into 20 minutes. We always go over. So anyway, again, like I said before, you won't pay $500. Today is $197. So if you're interested in this offer, you seen the number before? I thought it was only appropriate. Less than $28,000, okay? I thought it was funny. You guys got that, thank you. I thought it was just me. Thank you, this is a good group. Can you guys go on tour with me? I like this audience, all right? In case you can't scan the QR code here, take out your cameras right now, and you can take a picture of this. You can also go to this website right here, and it will give you that particular offer. All right? So take a picture. And we take PayPal, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, etc. And if you have Venmo, we can do that as well. All righty. All right, let's move on from here. Okay, oops. So now what I want to do is who did I say are my 3 people? My 3 storytellers? Okay, please come up here. Please come up here. My 3 storytellers.
The team or the speaker?
Just the speaker. Just the speaker. She's like, people are giving her hands. All righty. And help me with your name.
My name is Tam. Tam. Oh, yay.
Tam? Tam, okay. All right. So, Tam, would you like to go first?
Sure.
Okay, so table topics length. All right. So, like, basically 2 minutes. And what I'm going to actually, 90 seconds. 90 seconds. Okay, 90 seconds. So, here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I'm going to do. At around 90 seconds, I'm just going to start. This is the wrap it up sound. And what I want you to do is I want you to jump to the message or the lesson. Does that make sense? Okay, so we're going to wish everyone good luck, and we're going to do something. Good luck with this. It's called a whoosh. What's it called? A whoosh. So in a moment, this is what we're going to do. Everyone's going to go 1, 2, 3, and we're all going to go whoosh. And we're going to wish her good luck. Does that make sense? Okay, all right. So Tam, are you ready for your whoosh?
I'm ready.
Okay, so please assume your whoosh position. Okay, I'm just messing with her. Okay, are you guys ready? All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, whoosh.
My first cruise was 2 weeks ago. On the cruise, I decided to run a 5K marathon. No, it's not a marathon, 5K. My kids asked me, Mommy, why would you want to run when it's 95 degrees outside? I told them, that will make me feel less guilty when I am devouring all these delicious food on the cruise. And they told me, Mommy, don't do it. You're going to embarrass me. You're going to run the longest time. And I said, not worry, my kids. I will make it. They weren't worried that Mommy not going to make that whole 5K. It was hot. It were not an organized race, but I actually made it. And I got awarded the 5K medal. It's a rare medal on a Disney cruise.
Is that it? All right, let's give her a hand. Let's give her a hand. Yes, yes. Head, did it make you think?
Yes.
Heart, could you relate?
Yes.
Mom, you're going to embarrass us. Humor. And heavy hitting. Important message or lesson for us all. All right, let's give her a hand. Let's give her a hand. Thank you. Thank you. All right, who's next? Who's next? And what is your name, sir?
Vikas.
Vitas? Okay, Vikas. Okay. Are you ready for your whoosh?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
All right.
this is my first ever Toastmaster meeting. I'm
Okay.
a guest here.
Okay. He's a virgin. Be gentle. Okay, here we go. Just me and Cheryl. All right. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, whoosh.
Okay, so this was as recent as yesterday morning, 11 o'clock in the morning. I was having my nap, and suddenly my daughter walks up and said, "Dad, we got a 11:30 appointment at USCIS for my oath-taking ceremony for citizenship."
Ooh.
What the heck? 11 o'clock, we live in Morgan Hill. This is in Santa Clara, 35 minutes of drive.
Ooh.
How are you going to make it? Okay. And I was in my pajamas, taking that nap, working from home yesterday morning. Okay, we quickly get together. In the process, of course, I was annoyed at my daughter. You should have been checking your mailbox regularly because you were expecting this letter to arrive. We get into the car, and then her message. You know, we can make it if you drive fast. Okay, I said okay, and then there is my engineering brain comes in. You know, yeah, we can, but what if cop stops us on the way? And we will never be able to make it. I said, never mind. Okay, let's get there. Let's get there. Let's get there. And by the time we get there, it's 11:40, and we were the last just made in time for the oath-taking ceremony. And essentially, in another 20 minutes, my daughter was a citizen. Big relief. And the lesson was, don't necessarily have to rush, arrive safe.
All right, let's give him a hand. Good job, good job. Head, did it make you think? Was it relatable? Yes. Make you laugh? Important message or lesson for us all? Let's give him a hand, let's give him a hand. Good, all right.
Thank you.
All right, so are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, so help me with your name.
Yiming Pan.
Yiming, okay. Are you ready for your whoosh?
Yes.
Okay, please assume your whoosh position. Okay, all right. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, whoosh.
Oh, something's happening. My bike is escaping from the jail. The bus company is lost and found. You're not going to believe what happened this morning. Before I was able to take my bike off from the bus rack from the bus just drove away with my bike still on it.
Oh my.
Oh my goodness. But you know what? What's even more crazy? This bus driver had absolutely no apologies. The next time I saw him, before I even had the chance to shower him with all my anger, he said, "Hey, how did you forget to take your bike?" Do you know what? Your bike made me famous.
Thank you.
Now all my colleagues know I had to take a bike from one of my passengers. And you know what's the worst thing? I didn't even have a chance to sell your bike. It was expensive, I know, but I missed a big fortune. And I never see a man more ridiculous than him. But for some reason, I was not able to feel angry. And since that day, every day that guy hit me with a nasty joke. It can be something like, "Hey, it's Friday, no bike today, it's company policy." And one day I forgot to bring my company badge, and he said, "Okay, give me $20, I let you ride. No badge riding fee, or you can give me your bike."
Let's give him a hand, give him a hand, wow. Head, make you think. Heart, can you relate? Humor. And heavy hitting. Let's give them a hand. Let's give them all a hand. Great job, great job. That is my time. Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Are you ready to make your ordinary idea an extraordinary? Are you? Give a big hand to Ed.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. I hope you had a good time. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, I appreciate it. No, you shouldn't, seriously, no, just stop it. Thank you.